Hi everyone, this is Neha Gupta, founder of College Shortcuts. Very excited to have you guys on for this episode of College Shortcuts TV. I'm really excited because I really love Debbie. Debbie is doing some incredible work here in the space of helping parents, specifically around how to pay for college. You know, so many people are noticing that there's a lot of costs, more than ever before when it comes to the college process. And it's something I think most parents, they think about, but they don't always know how to communicate that or how to talk to their kids about it. But it's something that's keeping parents up at night. And so I'm really excited to have Debbie on here today so we can talk a little bit about what it is she's doing and what we are doing together to help make parents' lives easier around the globe. So welcome, Debbie, to our show.
Thank you. Thanks so much for inviting me. I'm excited to talk.
Awesome. So Debbie, what I'd love to do is just to have you kind of explain a little bit about what you do and some of the active groups you manage. I mean, I love the group. I'm in it all the time. I mean, it's always in my newsfeed. So if you could share a little bit about that, that would be amazing.
Sure. Actually, my background is I've been in financial services for many years. That's kind of where I grew up. That was my career. And I took some time off to actually, raise my own kids, although some of them are still home. And I went back a few years ago and did some consulting work. And it was actually work with student lenders. And it was very coincidental. It was the same time my oldest daughter was going through college admissions. So I started to see this whole process, not just of how you handle the application, but how you handle how to pay for college from all angles.
Yeah.
From the schools and what information they were providing, from my own friends and parents and not understanding the process, and then the loan companies, and it was just a whole mess. So I started really helping to communicate to parents what they needed to know from a kind of paying for college standpoint, and also it's like the intersection of pure admissions and understanding how you're going to pay for college, really communicated out everything people needed. And then along the way, because I love social media and I love kind of connecting with people, I had started a Facebook group, which has kind of created its life of its own, and it's called Paying for College 101. The goal is, again, really to reach parents as early as possible, because that's kind of one of the keys here in helping them understand the process of the financial aid, of paying for college, of how you search for merit scholarships. What the beauty of Facebook groups are is that you can kind of have like a constant dialogue, all day long. We can post information. People can ask questions. Other people can provide their own experience. There are professionals in the group who provide, their answers.
Yeah.
And so it's a great, learning space.
Absolutely. I love posting in there too. I mean, sometimes people ask questions and I'm like, oh my God, I just have to help,
Right.
And so it's really hard not to help because you're like, oh my God, this parent really is confused. And so what I would love for us to do today is, because I know we'll be sharing this with our audiences and just make sure all parents are up to speed about what it is that we're doing. Can you tell me maybe what is one of the biggest issues you're seeing in your field of the financial side of things? What is the big thing that you're seeing that keeps you up at night or makes you frustrated about how this whole process works?
Sure. Well, I actually kind of touched on it a little bit, and it's that people don't start early enough, and you probably, you hear that in like the whole aspect of college admissions. I mean, I could say that same thing related to test prep, related to, filling out their applications. But, in all those areas, it kind of hurts because if you don't start early enough, you're always behind the eight ball. But particularly in the, financial aid space, you lose opportunities when you don't start early enough because, there are certain deadlines that happen. There's certain dates that pass that you can't kind of roll back and redo. And that's kind of the hard part is when somebody kind of either comes into the group and they're later on in the process. Right. There are things we can help with and give advice, but you kind of like, your stomach turns and you just want to say, oh my gosh, I wish I could have talked to you 2 years ago, and you would have been in a much better situation.
Okay, so this is fascinating because this is the same thing we have too, where, we feel like the college admissions process starts a lot earlier. And it's so hard to watch. I'll talk with sophomore parents, 10th grade parents, and they're like, oh, we've got so much time to think about that, Neha. We don't have to think about the essay. We don't have to think about the schools or like what they're really wanting. We don't have to think about internships. And then I get the dreaded call around November of 12th grade, and they still have another SAT to take when they've been listening to everything we have been telling them to start early, to start early, to start early. We even incentivize by giving them like thousands of dollars off on some of our packages to start early. And we see it year after year. I got an email actually recently from a parent the night before the early decision deadline for Harvard. A student wanted to go to Harvard, and it's Saturday at 7 o'clock at night, and I get an email that's like, oh my God, can you check this essay? This, that, and the other. And it's tough, right? We care so much about what we do, but we also need to set, the realistic deadlines of what needs to be happening. First of all, you really shouldn't be submitting the day before. Apps crash, websites crash, Common App crashes, guys.
Right.
And so it's one of those things where the Common App prompts come out 7 to 8 months in advance. So let's talk a little bit about deadlines. In my space, for everyone that's watching and may not know, I run a company obviously called College Shortcuts, the shortcut to getting into the college of your dreams. And we help students from the application process, finding their unique narrative in the application process, what's going to make them stand out over the kid next to them, what is their story, help them with the essays, resume, everything. And there's certain deadlines that are really important. When it comes to a 10th grader, you've got to be thinking about mentorship and a little bit into the test prep space. By junior year, it is game on. The whole process has started. By senior year, honestly, you should really be applying August, September, and just kind of be done with it if you are really following the schedule to the T of what needs to happen. And if as a parent, you're running the ship to make sure that you know when these deadlines are. And I think most parents forget that the deadlines for early decision are October, beginning November. Early action is in November, and then December 1st, and then regular decision is January 1st, February 1st.
Really, from October to December, there's not that much time, because
the holidays.
That students also have their regular schoolwork, so it's not like they can work on this every day. They have to still do their regular schoolwork and activities, and then carve it out either at night or on the weekend. So
and most of them don't want to. That's the truth of it. I mean, most of them don't want to be packing it all in at the end. But they don't think about that when they're in it. I tell parents a lot, and I don't know if you talk about this a lot, but so if you look at it from a neuroscience standpoint, I'm a total nerd, as most people know. I went to Rice University, triple major, spoke in my high school class. I was that brown kid, So, if you look at it from a scientific standpoint, just the data, teenagers' prefrontal cortex, they are not formed. So if you think about it, these are all the places where you decide, you make decisions, you think about a vision, you have long-term thinking. These are things as adults we have, but teenagers don't fully have that. Yet when we ask them questions like, hey, have you worked on your essay? Or hey, what are you doing with your scholarship applications? And the response is, oh, I'm getting to it. They can't think that deadline is only 4 weeks or 6 weeks away. They just don't even scientifically have that fully in them. I mean, I've seen top students, it's painful to watch. I see top students that totally mess up this whole process. Just because they're perfectionists and they're trying to overdo the work, and in reality, they can get it done way early. So I love that you're dealing, I don't love it, but I love that you feel the same sentiment of the not starting early problem. So in your space, can you talk a little bit about the deadlines on that side?
Sure. Well, I mean, actually to that point, when I started, trying to educate people, I purposely tried to communicate to parents because I wanted to, get them on board. There's always this tension between you don't want to get kids all riled up, it's only about college. It's only about college. And I agree and I get that. But I think it's important for parents to kind of understand the whole landscape so that they're kind of ahead of the student.
Right. And not overwhelmed because Yeah, because I could easily, put on some Snapchat filters and make this all focused on the teenager. But
Right.
in the end, I think it's the parents that really need to be taking lead and taking more focus in this process. And I do believe, and I agree with you. I don't think it should all be for the college applicant. That's not what I advocate either. I think it's about finding your passion, finding meaningful experiences. I was just at lunch with a good friend of mine who runs a program that helps students to get immersed overseas in these incredible experiences. And I said, I remember that as a teenager. I remember that experience, and I remember how incredible it was that I wrote essays about it and how it changed me for life. So at College Shortcuts, our goal is to make sure that we find a way to package all that beautifully at the end. But you can't just shove all that senior year into an application. These are things that have to happen, as early as ninth grade, where they have these incredible experiences, and then we get to talk about it at the end.
Exactly. But going back to your question about deadlines from a financial standpoint, and this actually happened last year, where the government changed some of the processes for financial aid. Your first year of financial aid in college is actually based on the taxes from 2 years prior. Okay, so if you
can you say that one more time for everybody?
Sure. So, well, actually, this is maybe a better way of saying it. In fall of senior year, parents and students fill out the financial aid applications, and that's for money that's going to be for them for their freshman year of college. Those applications in senior year are based on taxes from 2 years prior. Okay.
And what was the rule before that?
The rule before is that the financial aid forms were based on taxes from 1 year prior.
Correct.
And it's always a little bit tricky for parents because you're talking about school year versus tax year. And,
right.
They don't, line up completely. So what that means is and that first year of taxes is what they call the base year. That's the first year that financial aid information is based on. And that really starts the January of sophomore year, because now we're talking about tax years.
Right.
So it's the January sophomore year to December of junior year. Okay? That's your first tax year that your financial aid is going to be based on. So think about that. That's January of sophomore year. You can't start learning about financial aid then. You really need to know it a year before, because if there's a chance that you need to make changes, or you need to make changes to, how income might be received and things like that, you're going to want to know that the year before so that you can impact
freshman
your tax year.
Yeah. Yeah. So how many people would you say, Debbie, or overall, have you noticed a lot of parents that do not know this information?
Most parents. And I do not blame them, because there's two major things going on. One is this is an area I call it's the you don't know what you don't know, right? So
of course,
who is going to tell you this? And unfortunately, schools usually focus on what's right in front of them too, and they're focusing on the seniors, and they're not necessarily starting with the families that are first coming into high school, telling them this is what you need to know.
Right.
So, you
preach
just
it, sister. I do this all the time. People are like, you really hate on schools, or you really hate on counselors. It's like, oh, I don't hate them. I think their job is very hard. I mean, yes. I don't deal with 800 students in my agency. That would be intense if I was the one human doing that. So it's clear our system is broken in the sense that we have all of these expectations for one institution to be able to give you all of this information. Right. You have to be resourceful. And to me, that change is a massive change. And it's something you can't change senior year. Like, your kid's senior, you can't be like, oh, I'm going to see if I can change that. Like, no, there's no way you can make any changes at that point.
Exactly. So most times people come into the financial aid process, that senior
year, like fall semester. Yeah. Because we get those too.
It's a done deal to some extent. You
totally.
Can move around assets. That is one thing you can move to the end, but you're not fooling with your taxes at that point.
Right.
And so you just, you have to go with what you have to go, and at least at that point, when you start maybe learning, the only years you can impact are junior and senior year
Right.
of college.
Totally. So, I mean, I've noticed in your group, Paying for College 101, and just so for everyone's listening, my group is called Parents of High School Juniors and Seniors. So we talk a lot about the admissions stuff and all that sort of jazz. Debbie's group is called Paying for College 101. These are great Facebook groups to get added to totally free, where you get tons of resources and you get to be part of groups of these amazing parents around the world. And here, to feel like you're part of a community around this topic, because so many people feel like they're in these little silos and isolated, but your story and your problems are very similar to other people, and it feels good when you know, hey, I'm not the only mom or dad really struggling with this. What would you say? I see a lot of stuff about the FAFSA in your group a lot.
Well, yes. Well, particularly, now we're still in October. So October 1st was the day that it was available to be filled out. So definitely we've had a lot of, talk about FAFSA. We're starting to have talk about the CSS profile form because, if you're applying to, it's a little over 200 schools that ask you to fill out that additional form, that one actually is unfortunately even more complicated than FAFSA. FAFSA actually shouldn't be that complicated if, you have just, a regular financial situation. But the CSS profile just asks for more information. And so it's cumbersome. And, having been in the financial services world before, I know and I appreciate that people don't like numbers. They don't like to deal with finances. So, it's kind of all these difficult topics coming together.
Yes.
So, yes, this time of year is definitely, a lot of talk about that. I will tell you, I can predict, because now we've kind of been through in the group, discussion for like a year or so, that March, April, May will all be about the financial aid offers that have come in and what does it mean and how do you compare and which one's better. And then come June, July, and August, it will all be about loans and how am I going to actually pay for this. So, definitely there's year-round chunks of topics that are going to pop up.
Of course. So I guess my question is, in terms of, the entire financial side of things and being in your industry, for us, we see things, so some of the red flags, as I call them red flags in my industry, is when parents are looking for college consultants and they don't compare like apples to apples. So for example, like they'll look for the local person, and not to say local person's bad, but like sometimes they'll just look for a local person who maybe works with 1 or 2 students a year and just does it as a side gig, compared to a company like College Shortcuts where we've got like Ivy League teams, really cool like people that are part of the company. We've done it for over 12 years. It's just amazing work that we've been doing. Do you see that in your industry as well, where someone will look at another company or another organization of some sort that you're like, this is not the same as what we do?
To some extent, I think that the whole space about professionals helping with, figuring out how to pay for college, there are definitely very good professionals. And then there are some that I have to say are more questionable. The thing that's really hard is that there is no licensing test to, vet somebody. There's no, 3 initials after your name that's going to tell you that that person is, is qualified to really help you. And a lot of people don't even know the qualifications that they really need to have somebody, help in the space with
That's
paying
scary.
for college. I mean, I say to look for somebody who has personal financial planning experience, who absolutely understands the financial aid system, and to some extent actually also understands a little bit, more than a little bit, but has a good knowledge of college admissions. They're not necessarily going to be the person like you are to help with the whole application process, but there is definitely an overlap between college admissions and paying for college, and that overlap comes with what are the colleges that you're going to apply to. That is the crux.
So that's my question. That was the next thing I wanted to talk about. On the financial side of things, tell me a little bit about how. So you do look at the college list. Because, for example, I was at a college fair recently, and it was quoted Duke Duke's first year is $72,000 as a
Probably
first year
from that,
tuition.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a very pretty penny. Right? I was like, oh my goodness. So, I mean, unless you've got, unlimited funds, which some people do, which is fine. How do you handle these types of conversations around the school list and around financial aid? Because I think this is the thing that really keeps my parents up at night out of all the parents we talk to.
Right. Well, let me just say one thing that you just mentioned. I personally think that this whole, skyrocketing costs of college affects families at all socioeconomic levels.
I agree with you. I think it's insane. I mean, look, it's doubled since I went to college. Like, Rice now versus what it was when I went, it's literally 100%. And that's a whole nother bucket of worms we could get into, but let's steer clear of that. I'm in total agreement that, it is expensive. So these are what I call delicate conversations that are happening around finances, going to college that you really want to from the teenager's perspective, or majoring in something that
that's gonna give you a good
may not
salary.
Pay for the bills later. So tell me a little bit around that topic from your perspective. I'm curious on how are those delicate conversations handled?
Well, I think that parents, between whether they're single or father and mother, need to kind of come together and really decide how much do they have that can go towards college. Either hopefully they've saved, or they can figure out from their own daily income and budget that maybe they can cut back. But they really need to kind of do that work, I think, before they come and sit down with their students. And because then that's kind of the working point that they can go from. So if they have an understanding of what they're willing to contribute to a school, to college, and then you start to look at, they should sit down and look with their student as to, what's that student's academic profile?
Yes.
What are their hopes and desires?
Yes.
Okay. And then they should, and honestly, this is something that they could probably do in 10th grade, even though they might not have those test scores.
Of course.
But you can start to look at the schools that you think you've heard of, that you might like to look at, and then go to the websites, run the net price calculators. That's a calculator that every college is mandated to have on their website. And
that's a great tip, everyone. Did you hear that? Net price calculator. That's a big one. Okay. I don't think most of my audience even knows that.
Right.
That's huge.
And then, they are not 100% accurate, but they will start to give you a ballpark. They will, again, start to give you something to use for discussion points. If you go to a school that your child, you are interested in, you run that net price calculator, you see what that cost is going to be for you, for your family, and it's not something you can handle. Well, now the conversation starts, because it can go in a few different directions. Depending on the type of school, especially if you start this in 10th grade, you might say to your student, this is what the school is going to cost us, but potentially this school might cost us less if depending on how you do on tests, on SAT, ACT.
That's big.
You start that conversation in 10th grade. They have a direction in which they're going. They have a goal, and then there's time to potentially reach that goal. You start looking at costs and having that conversation after all their test preparation and the test taking is done.
Totally.
I mean, you'll have the conversation, but you just won't have the different possibilities that you can work from there. Again, then the story is done. You can't necessarily change the academic profile. Instead, you might have to start looking at different schools. So there's lots of pieces to this conversation.
Yes.
I think should start early. You don't have to finish the conversation early, but you just start having it so that students know how much their parents can contribute. They have a sense of what schools are going to cost. They might have a goal that they want to reach from a testing and a GPA standpoint. And then as they get closer, you start refining.
Absolutely. So what I would love to do, and I know this is such a large conversation, it's a beautiful conversation you have in your Facebook group with a lot of parents really just chipping in and chiming in on a almost hour-to-hour basis, guys. It's phenomenal. And, I've been talking with Debbie through email. We've kind of connected a few times. I love her work. What I would love for us to do is to kind of let parents know how we are serving families. So, Debbie, do you mind sharing, I'll share some of mine at the end, but I would love for you to share what are the ways for parents from free all the way through paid that you offer to get the help that they absolutely need.
Sure. Well, free starts with a ton of content on our website, which is actually called Road2College. A ton of content that is shared in the Facebook group. Besides, content that we write ourselves, we curate a ton of information because there's a lot of good information out there. So we post that to the group, and obviously all the conversations that are happening is good information. So that's great free stuff. My goal is really to help the parents who are really in the middle. They may not necessarily end up working one-on-one with somebody from a financial standpoint. They don't necessarily have the time to pull this all together. And so they need a little support in the middle. So everything that we have is very, very reasonably priced, and we're kind of adding more to it. But so starting, low, we just did 2 webinars, which were $9.99. One was for the FAFSA, for people to understand what they, how to fill it out, what the issues were. There's always a lot of questions related to what type of, what assets should be included, what they shouldn't be included. And we had 2. Each one was probably an hour and a half, so that's 3 hours worth of webinars and 2 downloads. All about all the information you need, all the possible questions that could be asked for $9.99. So
just to clarify, that's $9.99.
Right.
I mean, that's less than an entree, people.
That's funny you said that, because that's exactly what I said. I said it's the cost of a hoagie and a drink. Because
that's awesome.
We just wanted to make it accessible.
You want to help. Totally.
Right.
Got it.
So that's one thing. Same thing. We just finished up a webinar, same kind of format for the CSS profile. Went step by step. How to fill out the form. There's some changes this year, particularly related to divorced parents. The same type of thing. Followed all. Filled out. We have a ton of questions that probably cover 95% of the possible questions that you could ask.
Yes.
So same thing, that's $9.99. And
awesome.
We're adding more and more of those types of really reasonably priced, webinars and recordings that just take a chunk of this process and really explain it to you and really give you the resources. And we walk through the resources of what that's all about. So, and then moving a little higher up is we are running a course, which in the past has been a little bit more one-on-one, but it's probably going to move to more of an email course, and that's probably around $99, and that kind of covers everything from A to Z. If you want to get your hands around everything related to the financial aid process, paying for college, how to compare loans, how to find the schools that are giving you the most money, that's going to cover it all. And then the next thing is really what I call a custom college money list. So in all the other pieces, we're giving you the information, we're giving you the resources. If you want to do the research on your own, we've curated it, we've vetted it, and we've made it easy for you to have it all. Sometimes people just still don't have the time, or they don't feel comfortable, and they want us to do it. So at that point, we can create a custom college money list, and it's really a list of 50 to 60 schools that your child has the highest likelihood of getting either need-based or merit-based
phenomenal
schools.
Awesome. And how much is that?
Oh, that's $149.
Wonderful. Awesome. Do you see a lot of parents wanting the done-for-you service?
Yes. They're, again, sometimes they kind of come to it a little late.
Got it, of course. Totally get that. Yeah, I know. I know. The amount of seniors that I, like, see, I'm like, oh, God, this hurts.
Right.
Totally. That's amazing. So, and the reason why I really love highlighting this is because a lot of parents ask us at College Shortcuts, hey, do you walk through the FAFSA, all this stuff? And we're like, no, I'm not a financial-based planner. Like,
I have to say, it's, you know, what parents should understand, and I appreciate, is that everybody has different skill sets, and I don't think, quite honestly, that and this is not to, you know, to put down anybody, I don't think that there's a person who has the skill set to really help you craft an essay, or, you know, help you with test prep, or help you fill out the application and understand the financial aid side and understand your personal financial implications. That's just a lot.
I agree. Like, I recently got a call from a mom. Well, can't the test prep coach just interview prep my kid? I'm like, no, that test prep coach has no personality to be doing that. And they're like, what are you talking about? They're like, oh, just 15 minutes is in the session. I'm like, no, that is not how you get into Harvard, dude. Like, we have to have the right person. Let me give you the Ivy League consultant that can do that for you. This is what it is. And they're like, that's a lot. Why should we do that? I'm like, because it's different people with different skill sets. And like, for us, our team that does essay editing is not the same person as the person that's getting to know the unique narrative, the passion of that child. These are two different people. The person that does test prep is the kid that's got a perfect score on the SAT is not always going to be able to do all these other pieces, just like the financial planner. I mean, I don't sit there and study all this stuff all the time, and I don't claim to get into that kind of work, because I know that when I love delivering where I feel that the best I can deliver love and passion and expertise, that's what I like to focus on. You know? So I love that you're offering these different price points. We do the same at College Shortcuts, everybody. We've, of course, got, if you go to collegeshortcuts.com, we've got 5 to 6 online courses ranging from $97 to $499, all do-it-yourself programs. You know, you want to do it yourself, make a t-shirt, same thing, do it yourself, get into college. We've got those courses. And then, of course, we've got done-for-you services. And we've even started to offer early bird discounts for parents that want to start early.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. You know, because they should get rewarded. I like to reward the parents that plan early, because it lets us know as a company that, wow, we get to now work with your kid early, which means now we have as much impact as possible. And so I run collegeshortcuts.com and eliteprivatetutors.com, where we basically do tutoring, test prep, and then we help kids get into college. And we even offer an essay review at a very discounted rate, where someone will literally go line by line and edit to final draft with the student, like handle that for them. So I think there's a lot of great things here for parents on the financial side and on the admissions side, where if they looked into the resources early on and got their space reserved, they'd really know early what they need to be doing, especially on the financial side. I mean, that's huge.
Right. And it's nice, honestly, to have this little a la carte, choice of different services.
Yeah.
Because it can fit, different families at different economic, levels. Exactly. And sometimes also parents have different skill sets, and parents might be very comfortable helping with this part of the process, but they're not as good with, helping to edit essays. So,
of course.
They can kind of like pick and choose where.
That's what I love too. I'm all about the buffet. I mean, if people saw the amount I ate, they'd be floored that a little brown 5'1" girl can eat as much as I do. But I'm that person of the buffet line that's just like, I'll have Asian, Mexican, Indian, right? Like, so my theory is, look, you want a little test prep from me? Awesome. You want my essay editor? Great. Like, we will customize exactly what it is that you're truly needing, and we'll figure out based on your budget which program will do well for you. Because my theory is, no matter what, if you haven't sat there and gotten hundreds of kids into college, you might make a few mistakes. And this is not the time you want to make mistakes. Right. So Debbie, I'm so glad that you were on here today. It's been such a pleasure being in your group. I love posting. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know what to post or when to post, because, she's got what I call a very lively discussion. And it's phenomenal to see, in the college space, you don't see parents getting this collaborative, if I may say.
I'm so glad you used that word. I really do feel great about the group that people truly support and help other people.
It's awesome.
Yeah, we really, honestly, don't have that much where I have to kind of like say, delete anything.
Right. Unless people don't know, and then you're like, oh, okay, got it. Right? Like sometimes people just need to know, and the same with parents of high schools, juniors and seniors. So any parents that are listening that have a high school junior and senior, just Google in Facebook at the top search bar, parents of high school juniors or seniors, and then Paying for College 101. These are the two groups you want to be in, because there's just a lot of collaboration, a lot of discussion, and just a lot of great knowledge that you're not going to get at a college counselor office or at that one general meeting at the beginning of the year. This is that real time, what's going on in the industry. So, Debbie, I'm so thankful to have you on here today. It has been absolutely a pleasure to
inviting me.
chat with you. Absolutely. So, thanks everyone for watching, and definitely don't forget to sign up at collegeshortcuts.com for your shortcut to getting your kid into college. We send these incredible emails that people love to read. And of course, Debbie's website, she's got some great stuff. Her website's very cool, guys. It's at Road2College.com. So make sure to sign up there as well. Okay, bye everyone.